Here, you speak Spanish. Yeah. Si tú.
Yeah. Tell them where we want to go.
Oh, man.
Oh, here we go.
All right. So we have some viewers now.
We got all of them. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties, everybody. Why? Did you guys ask why? That's why.
Good to see y'all.
There he is.
So you haven't watched Yellowstone yet?
Not yet.
Have you heard about Billions?
Yes.
Just in my bank account.
Another really good series.
Is that on? What's that on?
That's on Prime as well.
All right. I did hear about it. I don't even know the premise, but
it's good. It's good. But get through Yellowstone first, man.
Is Billions about the McDojo in the martial arts industry?
No, you'd have to take off like 10 zeros.
Oh, got it. Well, hello, everyone.
How we doing?
Great. Today's Casual Thursday. Miss Shelby, we had some difficulties. Didn't know what was going on. All right. Billions is awesome.
Hey,
Mr. Friedman says. All right. So, Mr. Hanzu.
How we doing, sir?
So we put a post out, but I was yelling to Brian earlier. Is that what the title of the show was? The difference between School A and School B?
Yeah, School A versus School B. What's the difference?
I know that was a post, but I didn't know that was the title, but we could talk about it. But guys,
type in what school you are, A or B. I'm just teasing.
Yeah, do it. But you don't need us. The industry has already answered. Let me read some comments.
By the way, Metz, let's just do this. So if you didn't see the topic, right, you don't know what it is. It's this week's topic, School A versus School B. What's the difference? So School A, high quality students, high active count, high revenue, and career opportunities. School B, high quality students, low active count, low revenue, and no career opportunities.
Right. Both high quality students.
Correct.
All right. Well, there was one answer on here. The only missing thing on either is any mention of real martial arts curriculum.
Okay.
So that would be a similarity. A response to that was, as many a McDojo have proved, it does not require solid martial arts to have a successful school. I would agree with that, depending on how you define a McDojo. But very poor, low active counts, maybe McDojos, depending on how you define that. The other comment was, in fact, but not all, but most I've seen over the last 43 years, real martial arts seems to be a detriment. And then they agreed with that. I'm just reading posts, guys. Let me. I wish I really knew how to use Facebook. Anyway.
Dude, you're boring everybody.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the post. But anyway, look. This is the problem, right? Can we all just agree to let our defenses down a little bit? What is the difference between School A and School B?
And by the way, is it not funny that always someone's got to mention the word McDojo? Isn't that always funny? It always makes me laugh. Like, can you be a McDojo and not generate? I'm just curious. What is everyone's definition of a McDojo? I'm gonna derail the conversation just for a second because I want to know what everyone's definition. Just type in the chat or the whatever this thing is in the comments. What is what's your definition of McDojo? Everybody, just curious. Because I have a definition, right? That I think And by the way, when I was not successful or as successful, I actually found myself being a hater and said, well, they must be McDojos. And that was for the people who had high active counts. And quite frankly, I had no idea what their revenue was, right? So all I knew is they had a lot of students. And so I already said that, I assumed that they had a higher revenue. And so I called that place or those places a McDojo back in the day because I didn't know any better. But just curious. So nobody wants to comment, huh? What you think a McDojo is. So Metz, you and I will talk.
Thank you. That's the way it uses.
That's the way it uses. Yeah. Can you be a McDojo with a low active count and low revenue?
Of course.
How? So what's your definition of McDojo?
Yeah, well, I don't know what a McDojo is. Somebody that is just nickel and diming their customers, getting everybody tested, whether they're ready or not, pay a lot of money and will guarantee your black belt in X amount of time. I mean, and I'm just guessing because I don't pay attention to that crap. I mean, and by the way, listen, I say this sincerely, and I know people are going to think this is whatever people think. I mean, everybody's too damn sensitive these days, right? But our martial arts industry, and that's all I'm addressing is the martial arts industry, we need to get our head out of our asses. Stop worrying about who's a McDojo, who's this, who's that. Knock that crap off. Focus on what you do. Stop making stupid excuses. Teach whatever killing art you teach. I don't even know what real martial arts is. What is real martial arts? You mean like is Israel Adesanya, who's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world in UFC, real martial arts? Well, some of you guys will say, no, that's not real martial arts because I would gouge his eyes out and rip his groin off. You know what I mean? Okay, well, whatever it is that you do, why don't you do that? Keep that quality, but make a lot of money doing it and offer it to more of the masses and offer opportunities and careers to some of your students. I mean, stop justifying and defending and this, that, and the other. What do I got to do to make people understand that just by some of the comments that we read, we know that you're financially struggling? I mean, just by some of the comments, because it tells us you think a certain way, right? And then you'll justify and defend that. I'm doing just fine. I'm doing just fine. Great. Like that's awesome. Put your kid in Harvard and pay for it up front for him. You know what I mean? You're doing just fine. I mean, if you said, well, that's not important to me. Whatever is important to you in this society, it takes money. Like it or not, it takes money. If you really care about your black belts and your students, have them work for you full time for free. They won't do it. And by the way, you're going to say, well, yes, they do. Not full time, they won't. And it'll be temporary if they do. Provide them careers so they can support their family doing what they love and teach your art and carry on a legacy. I don't know why this is so difficult to understand in our industry, but the difference between school A and school B, and somebody commented on it, it was in there. I was going to get to it if I can get to the post. It's systems, plain and simple. It's systems, and it's having an open mind and letting your guard down a little bit and saying, okay, of course I'd like to make more money without nickel and diming my customers, without taking advantage of my customers, by providing a great value to the community and doing it so well that I generate more income to provide for my families, to give scholarships to the public school systems, to offer careers. I mean, what is going on in this industry that this is just such a controversial topic? I mean, it's just unbelievable. Let your guard down and watch how your life can change. Literally, it can change within 90 days. Within 90 days. And you don't know what you don't know. And you know what else we do, by the way? I'm just going to say this. We can only look at how the masses judge your art. So if you're a Taekwondo practitioner, right? Well, as a Taekwondo practitioner, I can watch a video and I can tell if you have good physical skills in Taekwondo based on my perception and the masses, right? Meaning in Taekwondo competitions or in Taekwondo demonstrations or performing a Taekwondo form or whatever it is, we know what looks strong, what has great technique. If you're a BJJ practitioner, same thing. I've seen people demonstrate a BJJ technique, and it's just completely, I mean, you can tell, right? If you have knowledge of that specific art. Some of the people that talk about real martial arts, we go to your Facebook pages, and there's a lot of you that are really high level, but the majority of you are not. I mean, you're just not. And that's a choice because you're too close-minded and you're too wrapped in your own world, but that also carries over in every aspect of your life. And there's people here that can help. And in this industry specifically, we not only ignore that help, we bash that help. And it's just a shame, but open your minds a little bit. Go ahead, Tass.
Well, as long as you're on the brutally honest train, here's the deal. There could be a school C in here, which would be low quality student, low revenue, no opportunities as well. And I'm just going to say it. There's two things. Number one, sometimes we're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, and we're trying to give people what we think that they need or want. And the industry is telling you, or the people are telling you they don't want it. And we just can't figure out, well, why don't they want it? Everyone should want this, right? I mean, I could look around and say, okay, well, here's my iPhone. You're going to say, well, there's haters of iPhones, right? Great. Maybe, but there's people that want that. They have a product that people want. Whatever this thing is, this USB connector, right? Whatever you want to say about it, either I want it or I don't want it. And if you have a product that most people, when they look at it, go, no, I'm going to take a pass. I'm going to say this. There's some of you in the industry, I say you, but as the industry, not you watching necessarily, but some of you in the industry that need to find a different career. Martial arts is not for you. And being a martial art instructor is not for you. And being a school owner certainly is not for you. And sometimes the challenge in this industry is because, and now we'll get on something real controversial, but because there's no government protocols in place, and you have to be this, and you have to go through this train in order to open a martial arts school. And by the way, there's a lot of industries that you don't have to have those things, right? Any Joe Karate can go open up whatever he wants, and they can create whatever style they want to do. And if people like that and they want to do it, well, then they can go make a business and generate revenue. But the reality is most of us, we go into this thing and we do it because of the passion, and we don't do it because we're trying to generate revenue. But you can do both. And at the end of the day, I'm just going to be frank. When I talk with people and I'm doing a consult and I talk to somebody and they've been in business for 15 years and they have 15 students and they want help, I can't help them. So I just can't. And the reason why is there is something else that is going on where if you've been in business for 15 years and all you did was enroll 10 students a year, you'd have 150 students, right? Of course, there's attrition in there. But you have 15 students. So either A, we don't know how to teach, our delivery's wrong, we can't retain students, whatever. But those people are very, very, very difficult to fix and to help. They have to help themselves first and look internally, are they really in the right business? On the contrary, for those of you that have 80 students doing $8,000 a month in your school, you guys have a good start and you guys are easy to fix. And those of you that have more than that, 100 students, 200 students, 300 students, and you're just not maximizing your revenue, it's easy. I mean, we can generate you guys, we can get you in all those categories, right? More revenue and more opportunities for people in your schools. But sometimes we do, and we talk to a lot of people, and it's a hard conversation that often is avoided. I know Metzger's had the conversation before, but listen, you just don't belong in this industry. You got to go find something else to do. So if that's you, either A, go get an education in the martial arts and a martial art business and run with it and be open-minded, or B, go do something else because you're just going to keep spinning your wheels. Now, there's going to be people on here that say, well, I like working full-time and just teaching 10 people out of my basement. Cool. If that's what you like, then you shouldn't even be on this show, right? Because this is not about that. This is about helping people get to the next level, right? And so these are sometimes hard things to hear, but I've been at tournaments, and Metz, I'm sure you've seen this. And I sat in the bleachers at a tournament, And I'm looking at the black belts on the floor, and I'm like, I'm embarrassed. Like, how did these people even get a black belt? And by the way, some of those people are school owners. How are they even a freaking school owner? It blows me away at the quality, right? And so I feel the same way, by the way, about some of the way you guys feel. And it's about putting in the time and putting in the personal development to get where you want to go. But just because I watched the Winter Olympics and I watched the half pipe and I'm like, well, I'm going to be a snowboarder and I'm going to be that guy. I mean, I have a fake hip and a bad knee. There's no way on freaking God's green earth I'm ever going to go and be that high level snowboarding guy. It's just not going to be me. I can enjoy watching it. I can enjoy and be an enthusiast of it, but I'm not going to go be able to do what they do. And that's just some of us are at right now.
But Tass, there's a difference. And school owners, there's a difference. If you want to be a professional snowboarder and you have a goal of going to the Olympics, if you want to compete in anything, why don't you want to compete at the highest level and get better? I mean, like, because it's safe to not do that. That's why. If you're running a school, if you're running a business, why would you not want to get better and run the business better without compromising your values?
And most people, when you say the compete thing, let's just talk about business for a second. Most people will compete. I say compete loosely, right? With other businesses, other martial art businesses, but they tend to find the person who's doing worse than them so they can say that they're doing just fine and justify how they're doing. And the people that are doing better than them, well, they cannot possibly be teaching good martial arts, or they must suck, or whatever it is. And that couldn't be further from the truth, right? I mean, you know that. We've seen that happen over and over. And here's the other thing. If you're afraid to compete, and I've seen this, people are afraid to compete with themselves. Like, just compete with yourself, but you won't do it. You know, it's like if you're trying to lose weight and you don't want to get on the scale, you're not willing to compete with yourself because you're too afraid of stepping on the scale and seeing what the scale says. It's okay to compete with yourself, but most of us won't even compete with ourselves, and then competing with other people. Well, geez, I'm better than. You're always going to find someone that you're better than. Always going to find someone that's doing better than you, and that's not what we call healthy competition. Healthy competition is when you become part of something that's bigger than you, where people around you, surrounding you, are pulling you up to that next level. That's what healthy competition is. And then you start to pull people up to that next level. And that's what healthy competition is. And sometimes we just think it's all got to be cutthroat and they must be a McDojo if they're doing all these things.
You know, here's why you don't do it. And here's why you justify it. And if you ever worked with us, or if you ever wanted to explore or ask us about how we can help you, or ask, us meaning MAIA, first of all, we're going to tell you it's hard work. It's going to be hard work in the beginning. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be hard work because you're learning a new skill. And you cannot just become successful without busting your ass. I mean, you cannot be great in martial arts or in anything without busting your ass. I mean, you cannot do it. So it takes a lot of hard work. Therefore, we don't want to do that work because, as Tassoul said earlier, we got into this business because we're passionate about the martial arts. We're not passionate about all the business side of things that you have to do if you want to be successful. So we avoid it. We justify it. However, the other reason why some of you won't do all that hard work is because you don't have enough faith in yourself that it's going to pay off. But it will pay off. When you know what you're doing, it will pay off. And then guess what? It gets easier. It becomes a system and it gets easier. And I cannot imagine anybody watching this thing right now who wouldn't want to be generating an extra $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year in your school so you can offer. And by the way, if you want to take all that for you, fantastic. But there's a reason why we have, 70 some employees working for us. We provide careers for people. As a matter of fact, I could show you the board. Like, we're working on, an award system and everything else, like doing things special. And I was just counting up the people who've been with us for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And we're well over 20 full-time people that have been with us for over 5 years, and there's only a couple. There's almost 20 people that have been with us over 10 years. And that means a lot to me. But you guys gotta wake up and stop making life tough. And by the way, when you sit there and say, well, life's not tough, it's not tough, it's not tough. Whatever it is, you may just be comfortable. You know, I just watched this thing from Steve Harvey. He just said this. There was just a quote. I don't know where I saw it. Probably on Facebook or something. But Steve Harvey was talking about flying first class. He said, look, once you fly first class, they give you a hot towel. They'll give you a menu. You can pick what you want to eat. The seats are wider. It's more comfortable. He goes, once you do that one time, he goes, it becomes really difficult to get on planes and walk past those seats and go back to coach. And he says, your mind is going to be thinking the whole time, how can I get back to first class? How can I get back to first class? Yeah.
That's I'm just thinking how martial arts people are thinking right now. The towel's not really that hot. And by the way, the seats are fine. I don't like big seats. I mean, there's just too much shit can fall into my pockets and fall in the seats. These are the excuses that are made to it.
But here's the thing. Here's the point. He says your mind will start figuring out, like, I want to get that experience again. And you'll start attracting that. You'll start thinking differently because you want to get back to first class as a concept. But that's what he was talking about. However, if you've never experienced that, and you always just sat and coached, you would say, I don't need first class. I'm fine. And by the way, people who've had first class don't need first class. But when you see what it's like in first class, you realize your experience traveling can be so much better. And it's the same thing with your martial arts business. If you haven't had the opportunity to pay anyone and everyone that wants a career with you a wonderful, great salary, and I mean a salary to where they can go buy their own home, they can support a family, they got health benefits, they got a retirement plan, they got vacation package. If you've never done that for somebody, you can't sit here and knock it and say, I don't need to do that. No one needs to do that. But man, it's so much better. If you're in this industry to impact lives, get your head out of your asses and stop just thinking about impacting students and start thinking about how you can impact your team members or your little volunteers or your leadership people or those people who've been with you for 15 years that work a full-time job, just love this and come and help at night because they just love it. If you ever gave them an opportunity where they can really make a living, they may think this is the best thing that's ever happened. But a lot of you can't do that. And if you can do that for one, I always say, well, what are you going to do if you've done a great job, you have a high active count, you have all these black belts, and you walk into your school today and 5 of them come up to you and say, sir, you've changed my life. I want a career opportunity. I want to work for you and do this for a living. But I'm making this up, but I would need to make at least $50,000 a year. 5 people came to you. You would say, I can't. And that shouldn't be your answer. The answer would be, I would love to have you part of my team. And I want to provide that opportunity for you. Let's get you on board. That should be the answer. And by the way, I'm just using that number as an example, everybody, right? But we've been doing this 5 years, like you said, and it's the same answers. You see the same people, the little internet troll martial artists, you know what I'm saying, that wear their little whatever they wear. I won't single anybody out.
He was going to say Kung Fu shoes, everybody, just so you know.
Nothing wrong with the Kung Fu slippers when you're going out to dinner, guys. Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
I just know that if you have a school, you know how you're doing.
Oh,
funny. And by the way, stop being so sensitive. And now I'm not talking to the industry. I'm talking to this whole country.
Yeah.
Too sensitive.
It's interesting too, Metz. If I ask you guys, what's the, however you want to phrase it, right? Like, what's the most dangerous weapon that there is, right? As a martial artist, what's the most dangerous weapon there is? And if you guys put some thought in this, I'm sure you've heard it or you've said it before, but the weapon that's between your 2 ears, right? Like, it's your mind, like that, because with that, we can do lots of crazy things. But then when I ask you the same question about, that's a mindset thing, by the way, but this is also where we need to look. And Metz was looking, he's like, we have this award, they're creating this award system and they're looking at how many people have been there. Guys, that doesn't happen by accident. That's called leadership. And in order for you to get to that level, that may be just like, oh my God, I can't imagine myself with 30, 40, 50. I can't imagine myself with 3 employees, right? That may be what you're thinking. Well, the challenge is that some of you need to parse that all the way back and think, well, I can't imagine having 100 students. I remember thinking, man, if I could just do $30,000 a month in my martial arts school, that would be like unbelievable, and I wouldn't have any more. Like that would be it for me, right? Now, if we do that, like that's a horrible month for us. And so you have to make sure that you have you got to have the mindset first. And when your mindset changes about what your martial arts school is and can be and how all these things fit together, it's going to take you to a next level, because you're never going to get that leadership team if you're like, well, they're a McDojo. Well, they do this wrong. Their martial arts suck. Like, haters don't really ever grow. I mean, they just don't grow, right? I mean, they just hate to hate to hate to hate. So if you want to build your business and you want to influence more lives, which I think everybody on here, if I said, well, I just do it because I love to do it. I want to give back. Great. Do you want to give back to 10 students or 1,000 students? What do you want to do? And so there's ways around this, but you have to get the right mindset and know that there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. And we don't nickel and dime people. We don't do all these things, that the belt factories and the McDojos and all those things. And I would challenge you, go look at the schools, and you will find both, by the way, School A and School B. You will find schools that have backyard schools with 10 students that have unbelievable students. And you will find schools that have backyard schools with 50 students who have horrible martial arts. But you'll also find the other side. You'll find schools that have a huge student count that teach horrible martial arts, and you'll find schools that have hundreds of students that teach unbelievable martial arts. That's up to you as the individual and as the instructor for you to grow to build great martial artists and understand how to teach. That's not what we're here to do. That you're the martial artist. That's where you put your time in. But if you do teach good martial arts, which is what we assume from everybody, right? And you do want to make an impact, you do want to influence lives, we can lay a blueprint over what you're doing to help you with that financially and to really maximize your success in a very ethical way. That's going to be a win for everybody. But you've got to get out of it. Is the same thing with everybody. You got to get out of your own way. You got to get out of your own way. And we just sometimes put more importance on other things because that's what's important to us now. And the business side, we're going to push that away because, like you said before, you're either scared or you're afraid of going after it. You're afraid of failing. You're afraid of success. I don't know what the reasons are, but it's just, it's all mindset. And the problem for a lot of us is, and this was me, my mindset had to change when I was at rock bottom because there was no other options for me. That's what happened to me. And the problem is, if we're not at rock bottom for some of us, because we'll do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure, if things are just okay, we're not going to, a lot of us don't take action because things are just okay. And it causes this, we got to hit rock bottom to be able to bounce back up. And that's not a fun way to do it. You need to take the leap regardless of where you're at and at least explore and find out what's out there for you.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, Century Martial Arts is the parent company of MAIA. 20 years ago, they wanted to start an organization. This is the backstory, guys, to help martial arts schools become more successful. At the time, it was specifically on business systems and training. Don't care what you taught. Keep teaching whatever it is that you teach. That's up to you. But they wanted an organization to try to help you on the business side of things, right? Plus some teaching tips and teaching drills and whatever, right? Well, why? Why did they want to do that? Why did Century want to start MAIA? They wanted to do it because if they can help you all, you're going to buy more product and it's going to help them as a business. And it's a great marriage. It's a win-win, right? We professionalize our industry. We help the school owners become more successful. And we help you guys make a bigger impact in your communities, which then would produce more martial arts schools, which then increases product sales and everything else. Okay. Fast forward 20 years. I hope you guys hear this. There was talk, and I'm just going to be transparent. How can we scale MAIA, right? MAIA Elite now. A lot of you are probably saying, I did MAIA. You know, I got the things in the mail. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about our elite coaching program. And they said, there was talks about how can we scale this, even get even more people, because the reason why we don't have hundreds and thousands of people is because MAIA was built on one-on-one consulting, one-on-one coaching. And if anyone in their right mind wanted to run a consulting business, let's say, where it's just based on one-on-one consulting, you can only scale that so much because a consultant can only handle so many people when they're talking to individual people, not just doing a group call with 500 people on it and giving generalized information and we'll see you later. And so we were going to try this thing, and we did for 1 month, kind of. And then I said, and the team said, we all said, that is not what's best for the school owners. I'm not in the business. You didn't bring me on to scale MAIA. You brought me on to change lives and do the best that I can or we can to help schools grow and become successful. And there is nothing better than one-on-one consulting, going into the specific challenges of that individual in their specific school. There's nothing better. So we're not doing that. We're not going to go to the big group thing. We're going to continue with a personalized consultant. That's why we know how much we can help school owners. And if you haven't, and if, by the way, if you've done MAIA Elite before, you can chime in. There's not one person on this planet that's worked with me. I'll speak for me. And I think you could speak for yourself, Tass, right? That's going to say, well, Metzger really wasn't there. He didn't deliver. You either didn't want to do the work. You either didn't answer your phone call, right? Or you gave up. But everybody else, people that have quit will tell you, we go above and beyond. We are available all the time. Now, is this a sales pitch for MAIA Elite? It's a sales pitch to change your mindset and to reach out, be accountable, see what we have to offer if you want to grow your business, and see what everyone else has to offer. But the reason why I think we do it so well is because for 20 years of talking one-on-one, we've learned just as much from all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of individuals over 20 years on what you did really well that this guy did not do really well. And we've merged it into a system, which is something that you can't do if I was just talking to a group of people and hearing my own rhetoric, right? So that's why we are confident, and that's why we know we can help schools. But by the way, we have people that have been in the MAIA Elite program for 15 years plus. They've been in the elite coaching program. And when I ask, why have some of you been here for 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years? Why are you still in the program? The answer is always the same. Accountability. When I know you are going to call me at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, I know I got to get my stuff ready, or you're gonna be upset that I didn't get it done. And I love the accountability. Well, here's why you're not going to reach out to Tass or me or anyone else, because no one's holding you accountable. And that just doesn't work just in human nature in general. It takes a very special person to be extremely proactive and to hold themselves accountable, especially if it's doing something that's unknown to you, right? I don't know if that'll work. Oh, they're just going to try to, your brain will start, they're just going to try to sell me. They just want my money. They shut your mouth and just do something that can help you and stop letting those little voices get in. Now, if you talk to us or anyone else and they seem like they just want to take your money, then say all that stuff, post all you want. The thing that bothers me is everybody likes to post about other schools that they've never even walked foot in those schools. They have no idea what they're talking about, right? Or the consulting companies. And there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of good ones out there. And there are some ones that I don't think are good, right? But that's for you to decide. You don't listen to me. And last thing I'll say, and then I'm going to throw it to you, Tess. It's almost like when you say, hey, can you recommend a good doctor? I really need a good doctor. I want to find a good doctor. And what you will do, what people will do is say, oh, you got to try Dr. So-and-so. He is unbelievable. He's great. Is he really great? How do you know he's great? Because he's friendly? Is that why he's great? Because he has a good bedside manner? How do you really know he's a good doctor? You got to have more information than just, he's a really nice guy, right? This is the guy that's going to operate on me. He's great. But how do you know, right? So you guys got to explore. And do you understand that one little decision can change the course of your life and everyone else's life that you're going to influence from here on out? So I'm a little frustrated with some of the comments. It's the same stuff over and over and over. It's a lot of the same people. And I sit there and think, man, I wish you'd let someone help you. You know, I wish you'd let your guard down and open up your mind a little bit, because we can help you. Go ahead, Tass.
Yeah, man. You know, that's the accountability is huge. And for those of you that, you know, have your schools and you don't see a student that comes in for the week, as an example, the first thing I would tell you is, do you really care? I mean, are you calling them every week and saying, hey, we didn't see you, just want to check in, make sure everything is okay? If you're not doing that, then you're a McDojo. No, I'm teasing. But if you're not doing that, you should be doing that if you care about your customers. Well, that's the same accountability that happens when you're dealing with us. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, that's the schedule accountability calls, and we're going to call and we're going to check in and we're going to see how things are going. So some of these things that we do in our martial arts school, if we would just take the same thing and let it apply to us, as opposed to just being so close-minded, I mean, it would help you guys out so much. You know,
and you know, look, I know I come across rude, maybe condescending. It's frustration, because you're not the guy that gets calls every single day with people that want help, that we know we can help, that don't take action. And it's all from a place of, I just want to change your life. It doesn't change my life, but I have a commitment to this industry to help people change their lives. And it's frustrating when the industry has this mindset. And I mean, the majority of the industry has this mindset where they don't know, forget me, but anybody else. And this is a great question from Eric Maddox. When would be the best point for a new school to join? Before the school really gets going, no location, no systems, no students, or after the school has things started but needs help cleaning things up? Here's what you would get from us. If Mr. Maddox called me and said, hey, I'm interested in your MAIA Elite, can you tell me about it? Before I tell him anything about it, I'm going to say, well, tell me about you and your school. Do you own a school? This, that, and the other. If Mr. Maddox says, well, I don't even have the school yet, I don't have a location, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, well, we're not going to sign you up for anything and take your money. I'm going to give you free advice. I'm going to tell you what kind of location to look for. I'm going to give you tips on what to do, on how to negotiate, what to ask for in a lease. Go do that. When you get that going, if you have any questions, call me, and I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to take your money if you're not going to get value. Or MAIA, we don't operate like that. We just don't. So no, sir, if you don't have a school or anything, I wouldn't be joining anything. And then, by the way, if you first open your doors, the first thing that I would tell you is I would jump on MAIA Edge, because MAIA Edge is $149 a month, but it has everything you need: grand opening, flyers, tools, videos, passes, mass intros, how to do mass intros and fill your school quickly. I mean, it's a resource center, and I would tell you to do that, but I wouldn't even sign you up for that if we didn't have a school yet, right? So it's just frustration. Go ahead.
By the way, I mean, I see Cassandra Crowe is on here, and she reached out a couple weeks ago, and we had a conversation, and she can chime in. But that exact same thing that you just said, we had that exact conversation, and she's passionate. She's just not ready yet. So she's got some homework things to go do and get done. And when those things are done and she can build, then we can talk more later on. But, I'm looking back too, and I think about, when I was younger and I was struggling, and if someone would have, reached out like this, I think at the end of the day, there would be fear in me calling initially, because I would be embarrassed about what I might say, or I might not know the answers to questions, or so sometimes that would prevent me from making. I'm just thinking of my younger self. It would have prevented me maybe from calling, and things may have to have been in a bad. And that's me. I mean, I work off of the pain thing, right? Things typically have to be pretty bad, and then I can make a response. I think we're all wired that way. We're all going to, do. Tony Robbins talks about it. We're all going to do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. But what's more painful? Living the same day in, day out, doing Groundhog's Day, or picking up the phone and actually just having a conversation about where you, a candid conversation, where you're at, what can be done, and what are the action steps to get there. And you either like what you hear or you don't, and you're going to make a decision whether you want to execute or take action or you don't. But what I don't want to do, Metz, either is I don't want to convince people and be like, oh yeah, well, okay, I'm ready. Because some of you are going to start to convince yourself of I'm ready. You're going to make the call. We're going to give you the stuff to do, and you're not going to do it because you're really not ready. And if you're going to come in, you can't just say, well, I made the phone call. I said I was ready. I say, go do this, this, and this. And then here's here's what a client that will not have success will do. Well, yeah, but my town, this, and there's all these excuses as to why we can't get it done. And I'm happy to explain the whys behind it, but I'm not going to sit and try and convince you as to why it works over and over and over. Either you believe me and you trust me, because it's not me, by the way. Metz said earlier, it's 20 years of experience taking systems and putting them together, and we know it works regardless of where you're at. So if that's you, then don't jump on the phone, because sometimes we're not ready. We think we're ready, but we're not open-minded enough. And if you're open-minded enough and you're willing to take action and execute, because he said it's hard work. And by the way, it's not only hard work, but it's going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. And that causes some pain. But I promise, once you get done taking a sip out of the fire hose, because there's a lot of info coming at you, you're going to be in a way, way, way better place. And so that's what I would, just encourage you guys to really think about before you, whether that's with us or anybody else. Don't get on. If someone's going to give you that advice, take action and execute. I will help somebody as long as I can and as long as I'm willing, if they're willing to go execute and they come back and say, hey, here's what you told me to do. This is what I did. Here's what happened from that. What else should I do? I'd love to work with you, but I hate working with people that, I give them 3 things and then they call me or they call me back and like, hey, what else can I do? Well, how do we do in the last 3 things? Well, I didn't do those yet, but I'm good. Well, no, go get those things done first and let's get results. And a lot of the people that we've had as part of our program recently have talked about watching the Metzger Tassoul Show for the last several years and finally have taken action. Why? Because what they're doing is they're listening to things that are on the show and free information that we're giving, and they go back and they execute and they're getting results. And they're like, well, man, if it's working, if they're giving that information away for free and it's working in my schools and it's building my school up, what else can they do to help me? So, this is not one of the, this is more of a mindset day on the Metzger Tassoul Show, right? But there are times that we give you a lot of information to go back and execute in your school. And if you do those things and just don't waste an hour watching us and go back and execute and you get results, and then you do the next time and get results, well, pretty soon you're going to be in a way better place. And this is called reinvesting in yourself and in your business. That is the first place that you need to invest. You need to invest back in yourself, back into your education, and back into your business. And that's going to, there's no better investment than investing back in your business. There's no bigger ROI than investing in yourself. Some of you may not need us right now. Some of you may need to invest in Tony Robbins or a Zig Ziglar or whoever it is to get your mind right. And once your mind is right, then you can be helped in every area of your life, by the way.
By the way, let's just call it out. So Miss Cassandra Crow, because I know people are going to read this. I've been implementing what we discussed and I'm seeing improvements already. Less class types from 8 to 3. Cut my classes from 1 hour to 30 minutes. Now people are going to read that and say, oh, okay, so you're cutting everyone's classes. You want them to do 30 minutes. You can't teach anything in 30 minutes. Da-da-da-da-dee. You want to justify that?
Do I want to just?
Yeah, do you want to?
Well, yeah, look, there was conversations that happened behind the scenes and there's reasons why. And so, oftentimes you'll hear us say something and you'll take it out of context, but there's always a reason why. And there's 100 examples of this, but there is a reason why we did what we did. And there's a reason why she's doing those things. And we've got all that figured out, right? But at the end of the day, I've had people call me and say, my attrition is horrible. I lost 10 students last month. Okay. Well, let's pause. What was our attrition rate for the entire year last year? Well, it was 3.5%. Then stop worrying. We don't have a problem. Like, we get these gut checks and we want to, we're always so reactive But most of you, I'll be honest, most of you don't have the numbers. So we can't run the school by the numbers. So you run it by your gut, which is why you either are surprised at the end of the year or the end of the month when you made X amount or you lost X amount, because you don't have a plan. You cannot create a plan if you don't have numbers. We got to know where we were, where we want to go. We know those two things. We devise a very detailed action plan specifically for your school, because some of you have attrition problems. Some of you have, revenue problems. Some of you have enrollment problems. And depending on what that is, we're going to figure, and we're like, this is the lever that's going to help you the fastest, as opposed to generalized consulting where, well, here's a referral program you all should do. Well, you don't need help with referrals. You need help keeping your students because you have an 8% attrition rate, as an example. This is why the one-on-one works so well, and we can dive in and figure out those answers. So yeah, everyone, you got to be mindful of what you read, what you hear, because it's very specific for your school. And I used to fall, early on in consulting, I used to fall in that trap. Hey, we're losing students left and right. We have a retention problem. And I would go in, because I was a rookie, I would go into, well, we got to make sure, are we doing MAIA calls? Are our classes fun and exciting? Are we doing good job calls? Are we doing none of that? Like, first of all, I need to inspect what I expect, and I need to validate that what you're feeling is actually true. And we do that through the numbers. Then if there's a problem, now we can create the action steps. So I've learned over the years, right, that it's important to really look and find out what are the numbers telling us. And for most of us, we don't track our numbers. So it can be difficult to help. But if you're working with us, we're going to start tracking. We're going to create a baseline, and we're going to know how we need to move, where we need to move. And there's lots of things that we can do without having the numbers. But you can still drive a car without your dashboard. But you don't know if you're running empty. You don't know how fast you're going. You don't know if your oil lights up. You can run and still drive your car. But at the end of the day, it's going to be so much more efficient, and we're going to be so much more knowledgeable on what we need to do and what we need to fix if we do keep track of those numbers.
And by the way, last thing I'm going to say, and we'll let you guys go, but somebody had said, oh, I don't need any help. I have 200 students and I have a waiting list. I don't need any help. You don't know what you don't know, right? And the question there should be this: whether you charge $100 a month for your classes or $149 a month for your classes, it's irrelevant. Take the number of students that you have, multiply that by 200. That's what you should be averaging at minimum every single month in revenue, regardless of what you're charging. The number of students you have, multiply it by 200 at minimum. That should be your average monthly revenue. And if you're not doing that, then waiting lists are irrelevant. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. Now, also, if you do an after-school pickup program or summer camps, don't count that. I'm strictly talking about evening martial arts from 4 to 9 o'clock at night, or 5 to 8, or whatever you do at night, where you teach traditional martial arts classes, not after school pickups, and not. So take that out of the equation. The number of people you have training, multiply it by 200. If you're not averaging that, you're not maximizing your systems. You're not. And now what you're doing is trying to build a business. Like this person said, I got 200 students on a waiting list. Well, if you're building your business just based on getting more people in it, that's just what I call the gerbil wheel. It's going to cap. It's just going to be a constant battle to constantly try to get more people in if I want to grow that business. And it's not very scalable when that's all you do to generate revenue, because if you ever needed to expand, you might not have somebody that can enroll 20 people a month, every month. What if you're in and this is the other thing we get, we're in a rural area, great. Maybe you sign up 5 a month, no problem. But if you have 100 students, and you're charging $100 a month, you should be grossing at least $20,000 every month. But most of you, and do the math so you know, most of you, if you take what you gross each month, your average gross each month, and you divide that by how many students you have, your answer is less than what you're even charging. So there's an exercise for you. Take whatever you gross each month, divided by the number of students you have. How could it be less than what you charge? because you don't know your numbers, and we're not maximizing our systems. And this is where we can prove it to you when we get on a call with you and dive in together and just show you how much revenue you're leaving on the table. Okay. I was just on the phone the other night with somebody that we've been talking, for many, many, many years. And they did phenomenal. But based on the information they gave me, I didn't give them. If all they did was what my team, my staff, there's that word, Tess, my team, my staff, my crew, I don't know what to say now. I'm a little self-conscious. These people.
My bros.
That if all they did was match what my guys did all last year as an average, in all of the locations that we have combined as an average, they were missing out on over $500,000 a year. So then I said, well, let's just assume you just did half as good. And by the way, this is an owner operator with a staff. Like, they're part of the bit. They're in the school. They're there. These schools are run by a great team. My team, they're the best, right? I said, let's say you just did half as good. Well, that's $250,000 that was left on the table. Now, when you jump the gun and you say, well, you nickel and dime, or you charge, or you do this, or you do that. Let me just quickly give you the example again, because this is the example I gave this person the other night. I said, if you and I went to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse because we were craving a steak, we like Ruth's Chris, and we wanted a steak. And we went there, and we said, the waiter's going to come over and said, how are you tonight? Can I start you off with an appetizer? Would you like the shrimp cocktail? Do you want a soup? Do you want a salad? I'm not insulted. I'm going to say, no, we just want a steak. Get me the New York strip, please. I'll take a New York strip. He'll take a filet. That's it. The table next to us said, you know what? I want the shrimp. And yes, I'd like a French onion soup, and I'd like a Caesar salad, and I want a New York strip. And by the way, give us a bottle of wine, and I also want to have dessert. The core product is the same. Their New York strip is going to taste just as good as my New York strip. Mine's not going to be watered down. It's not going to be worse because I didn't buy all that other stuff, and I wasn't insulted. When you have options for your customers, however, if all I did was buy a $60 piece of steak, we're two people. We go to Ruth's Chris, we spend $120. The two people over here spent $320 just because there were options. Well, if you say, it's like you with your martial arts school, you're probably saying, well, how do you charge $100 a month and then average $200 a month per person in our school? Well, how does Ruth's Chris only have $50 steaks, let's just say, but each person is worth $150 because they have options. And I, as the customer, can decide what I believe has value. And if I can add French onion soup, I'm happy about that. But this person doesn't have to do it. You have to understand how to run a business. Now, if they said, well, sir, if you don't order a bottle of wine and if you don't order soup and salad, your steak's going to come out a little cold. Well, that's wrong. That's wrong, right? So you all have to offer your core product, be able to get a black belt or whatever it is in your system without anyone buying appetizers or desserts. But you should have it there, and it should be, the secret is in how to establish value. That's the secret, to where your customers come to you and say, well, I want this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this. That's the secret. Okay, go ahead, Tass.
Yeah, and I was going to say in presentation, you already said it, but in presentation, right, as well. So, I mean, if you use the restaurant analogy, have you guys ever been in a restaurant where they're going to give someone their check and they say, can I just set this down here for a second? They set down that dessert tray and you stare at the desserts. You're like, dang, those look really good. I might like, that's all presentation, right? And it's done on purpose. But to Metzger's point, what he was saying, like if I don't order those other things, I'm gonna get a cold steak. It's kind of the translation for those of you that do upgrades. Some of you do forced upgrades and you force them to upgrade. That's just not the right thing to do. And here's what the other psychological part of this is this. When you give people options, you will find that typically if there's value, right? If you provide value, they will pick the option that you want them to do anyways, right? And by the way, I say you want them. Like if I have a 12-month program and a 36-month program as an example, right? Well, of course I would want someone to do the 36. Why? Because they're going to train longer. They're going to be better martial artists. I mean, all of those things. But if I say, well, here's your 12-month program is over, you now have to do a 36-month program. There's going to be resistance on that, as opposed to, hey, here are your options. What would you like to do? And they feel like they have the autonomy to pick, and they usually pick the option you were going to force them into in the first place anyways. People love, it's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is people love options.
And last thing I'll tell you, two friends of mine went to this this upper scale restaurant that just opened, right? And they drank old fashions, an old fashioned. And they both had one. This is true. This just happened 2 weeks ago. One ordered an old fashioned and it was, I don't know, $20, but he wanted it with a rock, a big cube of ice, right? A rock. The other friend ordered an old fashioned neat, didn't want anything in there. When they got their bill, it was $20 on his bill plus $3 for the rock. He got his thing and it got his bill plus $3 for neat. That's nickel and diming. Their presentation sucks. They should just raise their old fashions by $3 and not charge people for the rock and not charge people if you don't want to have the rock as an upcharge. That would be wrong.
Now, what he's not saying, everybody, is you don't need to be all inclusive, just so we're clear.
That's not what I'm saying. Anyway, that's nickel and diming, though. Right. That's ridiculous. And you know what I said when I asked how it was, and they said it was good, and they told me that? I said, I won't go there. I'm not going, right? So I don't run my business that way, and I don't want to go to businesses that do. So anyway, thanks for listening to the rant, guys. It's nothing but love and passion to help you guys. And if you guys are going to be at the Super Show in July, I want to call this out. We had this happen. Tass, and you had heard people. Tass was walking behind me. I was walking down the hall going somewhere. And somebody said after I walked by, oh, he's too good for us to say hello or this, that, and the other. Listen to me. Of course not. But how many times are you guys walking down the street saying hello to everybody as you pass them on the street? You got to understand, I don't know anybody there. I don't know who knows me and whatever. But if you know me and if I know you, I'm going to come and say hello. If you see us, I would love to talk to you. I would love to see how you're doing, where you're from. But just because we happen to be on this thing, people might see us every week, and then you see me again and I walk by you and you're like, oh, well, I can't see you. I don't know who everybody is. It's just, that's that mentality thing again. That's just crazy. And if we have met before, maybe you're just forgettable. No, I'm kidding. Tass.
No, I mean, he is. He's an ass. He just doesn't talk to anybody. So
that's true.
You guys can come chat with me. I'd be happy to talk to you.
Talk to Tassoul. Don't bother me.
No, there's a lot of truth to that, everybody. I mean, we can't even hardly see your profile pics, right? So yeah, if you see us, come talk to us. We'd love to chat with you guys, and if we can help, we'll certainly help, and give you guys some direction. We'd love to see you guys spend. What is it? This is 2 years now without the Super Show. 3?
Hey, yeah, and Mr. Perez, real quick, do you sign autographs? Of course we do. And this year, because it's been 2 years, it's only $20.
And if you want mine added, it's an extra 10.
Right. If you just want his, it's only 10.
That's right. If you want my last name, it's another 10. On the spirit of nickel and diamond, everybody. No, we'd love to see you guys, and appreciate everybody jumping on. I know sometimes we go. Look, sometimes you guys are going to get great information. Sometimes you're going to get a checkup from the neck up. Sometimes we go on rants, but it's because we do. And he said it. We do care, and we just know how much we can help. And we've had countless conversations back and forth about clients that we know that we can help if they would just execute and take action. That is the most frustrating part, because at the end of the day, I shouldn't really care. Like, hey, I gave them the info, whatever they want to do with it, that's cool. But I get stressed, man. I get stressed in dealing with clients because I care and I want to see them succeed. I want to see them do the best they can.
Tass, how does Mr. Perez schedule a call?
Yeah, just Metzger, what's your number here?
321.
No, you can, Mr. Perez, if you want to jump on, you can jump on either, Mr. Metzger's messenger or my messenger on Facebook. Shane Tassoul, I'm on Facebook. Jump on and just private message me, and we can schedule a call. No problem. Find out where you're at and what you do and where you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah, Facebook Messenger is the best way. Just private message.
Thank you, Mr. Wanzu. Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
So thank you, guys. We appreciate it. So good luck with everything. And by the way, next week, everyone, we are going to be doing this. And it starts on Thursday, our event. And look, we're making a dent. It is completely sold out. Completely sold out. More than sold out. Cannot take anyone else at this event. It's a massive event here in Orlando. And but I want to see how we can keep growing and getting more and more people there. Our problem is our method of the way we run the business. Our consultants can only handle so many clients, right? Because we do the one-on-ones. So good luck with everything. We just lost Tass, and we will see some of you in next week. Some of you we won't. We'll be back in 2 weeks. And because we may try to broadcast, there's Tass. We may try to broadcast from the event, but it's going to be busy. So we may be 2 weeks. All right. All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody. Hey, great seeing everyone. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Oh, by the way, real quick, Thursday is the wealth program. The wealth starts on Thursday. The elite seminar starts Friday. That's why we start Thursday.